In this lesson, we will see how the spirit of revolution spread from Europe to its colonies in Central and South America and the Caribbean in the late 1700s and early 1800s. First, we will look at how slaves in Haiti led a successful revolt against French rule and became the first colony in the Western Hemisphere to gain independence after the United States. Next, we will examine the social and political causes of revolution in the Spanish colonies in the Americas. Then we will see how Mexico became independent in the early 1800s after Father Miguel Hidalgo launched a revolt against oppressive Spanish rule. Finally, we will see how Brazil gained independence relatively peacefully from Portugal. The revolutionary fervor that gripped Europe in the late 1700s spread to Latin America. The term Latin America refers to the region from Middle to Southern America, colonized by Europeans, especially the Spanish, French, and Portuguese, whose languages are rooted in Latin. After 3 centuries of being ruled by foreign nations, many of the French, Spanish, and Portuguese colonies in the Americas began struggling for independence in the early 1800s. The first Latin American territory to break ties with Europe was Saint Domingue, or Haiti, which was located on the western half of the Caribbean island of Hispaniola. Saint Domingue was France's wealthiest colony in the Americas. This wealth came from sugar plantations worked by thousands of African slaves. Saint Domingue was the leading producer of sugar in the world in the 1700s. Because of the difficulty of the work and the huge number of slaves, conditions on the island were terrible. Plantation owners used torture, beatings, and terror to force the slaves to work and be obedient. Inspired by the ideas of liberty and equality of the French Revolution, and fed up with brutal treatment and harsh restrictions on their lives, mulattoes and slaves joined together in a bloody revolt in August 1791. When the mulattoes and slaves on Saint Domingue revolted, they found a leader in Toussaint Louverture, a self-educated former slave and brilliant strategist. His name came from his ability to find and exploit openings in the lines of his enemy. His successes in battle made him a heroic leader and symbol of freedom to the people of Saint Domingue. Toussaint's daring force of former slaves defeated opponents from France and Spain. He took control of most of the island by 1798 and abolished slavery. In 1802, however, Napoleon sent a large army to regain control of the island. Napoleon wanted to exploit Saint Domingue's rich sugar industry to pay for his wars in Europe. Toussaint was captured and imprisoned, but his forces continued to fight against the French. Yellow fever and fierce resistance from former slaves devastated the French army in Saint Domingue. The French withdrew in 1804, and Toussaint's successor, the general Jean-Jacques Dessalines, declared independence and renamed the nation Haiti. Although Haiti became the second free nation and republic in the Western Hemisphere after the United States, tens of thousands of people had died, large amounts of land and resources had been destroyed, and years of violence had created political instability and poverty. Revolution soon spread to Spain's colonies. Several factors contributed to this. One of the most important was resentment fueled by social and racial divisions. Society in Spain's Latin American colonies was sharply divided into classes. At the top was a tiny group of peninsulares who were born in Europe but occupied the most important positions in the government and church. They accounted for less than 1% of the population in Latin America, but owned vast amounts of land and had all the power. Below the peninsulares were the Creoles, people of European descent born in America. They accounted for about 22% of the population, and were well-educated, wealthy, and owned many of the mines, shops, farms, and ranches in Latin America. Despite their wealth and education, Creoles were excluded from the highest-level government and church positions, which were reserved for Europeans. Gradually, the Creoles began to identify themselves as American and resent the control exercised over them by foreigners. The rest of the population in Latin America was a mix of Native Americans and Africans, most of whom were slaves. The natives and Africans were exploited as laborers and had no rights. The region also had significant populations of mestizos, who were people of mixed European and native ancestry, and mulattoes. The mestizos and mulattoes were angered by the fact that they were denied the wealth, status, and power enjoyed by whites in the colonies. Another key factor was the Enlightenment. In the 1700s, educated Creoles read the works of Enlightenment thinkers such as Voltaire, Rousseau, and Montesquieu. As a result, the Creoles began to question the authority of the Spanish government. The success of the American Revolution, itself based on Enlightenment ideas about liberty, inspired the Creoles. Translations of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States circulated among the Creole elite. Wealthy Creole women in the colonial cities created their own salons where new ideas were discussed. Some young Creoles traveled to Europe and were inspired by the events of the French Revolution. Changes in Spanish colonial policy further fueled resentment. As Spain's wealth and power declined during the late 1600s and early 1700s, Spanish authorities gradually relaxed their administration over the colonies. This relative neglect allowed Creoles to become powerful by buying land, owning mines, and running haciendas, which were large agricultural estates. In the mid-1700s, however, Spain tried to reassert control over its colonies. To help reestablish Spanish control, King Charles III created an intendancy system. This system provided for the appointment of peninsulares as intendants or governors, who would be loyal to the king. Charles also tightened control over the Catholic Church in Spanish territory. In addition, economic reforms were enacted in an effort to help the Spanish economy by limiting industries in the colonies in order to force colonists to buy expensive Spanish goods. As more peninsulares were appointed to oversee the new reforms, many Creoles began to resent such outside interference in their affairs. A sense of nationalism and patriotism began to grow among the colonists. The final straw came in the early 1800s. In 1808, Napoleon deposed and imprisoned King Ferdinand VII of Spain, placing his own brother on the Spanish throne instead. Spanish colonists believed that with no legitimate government in Spain, control over the colonies should revert to the colonists. Tensions remained, however, between peninsulares and Creoles over who would control the colonial governments. By 1810, revolution had broken out in most of Spanish America as Creoles tried to take power. Both Simón Bolívar and José de San Martín were members of the Creole elite. They were also experienced soldiers and well-educated in Enlightenment ideas. Both men spent time in Europe and were inspired by the American and French revolutions. They hoped to similarly gain independence for their own lands from the corrupt Spanish government. Napoleon's invasion of Spain gave them the opportunity they had been looking for to raise the flag of revolution in South America. Called the Liberator, Simón Bolívar began the struggle for independence in Venezuela in 1810. Using bold tactics and surprise attacks, he eventually also freed Colombia and Ecuador from Spanish rule. In 1817, José de San Martín led a force in a treacherous march across the Andes Mountains to liberate Chile. The two leaders met in 1822, but could not work out their differences. In the end, San Martín backed down and turned over his forces to Bolívar, who completed the liberation of South America by defeating the Spanish in 1824. After achieving independence, Bolívar struggled to unite the lands he had liberated into a single nation, which he called Gran Colombia. Unfortunately, bitter rivalries, geographic obstacles, and power struggles among the Creoles made this impossible. Some of Bolívar's followers even criticized him, claiming that he was behaving too much like a military dictator. Furthermore, despite independence, no social revolution took place. The system of exploitation and rigid social stratification continued after the end of Spanish rule. Bolívar died in 1830, discouraged and hopeless. As in the rest of Latin America, Napoleon's conquest of Spain in the Napoleonic Wars provided the spark for revolution in Mexico. Mexico had a diverse and complex mixture of classes and ethnicities. While the Creole landowners enjoyed great wealth, most of the population consisted of mestizos and Indians who lived in terrible poverty. In a small town in southern Mexico called Dolores, a Creole priest named Father Miguel Hidalgo made the first public call for Mexican independence. Hidalgo had a history of challenging authority, including leading discussions of literature and art in his home, to which he invited many people, including Indians and people of mixed race. In 1810, Hidalgo issued the Grito de Dolores, or the Cry of Dolores, calling on peasants to fight for their independence against the oppressive Spanish rulers in Mexico. Thousands of mestizos and Native Americans joined Hidalgo as he traveled to Mexico City to demand change. Although the Creoles agreed with Hidalgo's call for independence, they feared his radical ideas about social and economic reform. Terrified of losing their property and power, they supported the Spanish in crushing the uprising. Hidalgo was captured and executed, but his movement lived on. Hidalgo would later become known as the father of Mexican independence. Another priest, José Morelos, picked up the banner of revolution after Hidalgo's death. Morelos was a mestizo who called for wide-ranging social reforms. Not only did he want independence from Spain, but he also called for an end to slavery, the creation of a democratic republic, and the breaking up of large estates to provide land for poor farmers. Once again, despite their support for independence, Creoles feared the radical nature of Morelos's reforms and condemned his movement. With Creole support, in 1815 the Spanish captured and executed Morelos. Changes in Spain helped the Mexican independence movement. In 1820, liberals in Spain forced King Ferdinand VII to enact democratic reforms. The conservative Creole landowners in Mexico became alarmed. They feared that the Spanish government might impose reforms on the colonies that would reduce their power. Led by General Agustín de Iturbide, they joined forces with the revolutionaries and overthrew Spanish rule in 1821. Iturbide declared himself emperor, but was soon overthrown, leading to years of instability and civil war in Mexico. Unlike the Spanish colonies, the Portuguese colony of Brazil achieved independence with relatively little violence or conflict. When Napoleon defeated Portugal in 1807, the Portuguese king and the entire royal family fled to Brazil. During their exile in Brazil, Rio de Janeiro became the center of the Portuguese Empire. After the French were driven out of Portugal, the Portuguese called for the king's return, but he refused and made Brazil equal in status to Portugal. Officials in Portugal, however, wanted to return Brazil to its former dependent status, and eventually persuaded the king to return. They stripped Brazil of power, abolishing its separate government and excluding Brazilians from political and military offices. Dom Pedro, the king's son, had remained in Brazil. He was pressured by colonists to free Brazil from Portuguese rule. On September 22, 1822, he declared Brazilian independence. Dom Pedro became the first emperor, and by 1823, the Brazilians had driven out all Portuguese forces with limited violence or bloodshed. Many nations were pleased by Latin American independence. The British benefited by loaning newly independent nations great sums of money and increasing trade. Britain also invested heavily in railroads and mines. The United States also favored an independent Latin America because it meant the end of European control and the opening up of markets for American goods. Consequently, reports that Spain planned to retake its former colonies alarmed the United States. President James Monroe responded in 1823 by issuing a policy later known as the Monroe Doctrine, which stated that the United States would not tolerate European military intervention in the Western Hemisphere. Britain's powerful navy backed up the United States to protect its access to trade. Now that we have completed this lesson, examine the questions on this slide. After I finish speaking, pause the video and see if you can answer them based on what you have heard. Use this as a way to help you review for the assessments.